Members opposite know better how to spend other people's monies than they know about creating wealth. This is a bill that speaks volumes about the lack of vision of the Labor Party and how bereft they are of ideas for taking this country forward.
I call the honourable member Jacinda Ardern, and as it's a 5-minute speech, I'll ring the bell at 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What an absolute outrage to have that ex-minister stand up and tell this side of the House that a bill to try and preserve what should be a sacred thing, and that is access to information via local libraries, is an attempt to overrule council, an attempt to overrule local government and gutting their ability to self-determination. I find it utterly outrageous to have the minister who has tried to remove the four well-beings from local government's mandate, can now stand up and tell this House that our attempt to preserve something that should be sacred is an overriding of local government's jurisdiction. That is a complete outrage, particularly given, Mr. Speaker, that we have seen some examples in recent times of local government considering paring back some of the services around local libraries, not because of choice, but because of pressure. The kinds of pressure that government is happy to place on local government with no qualms whatsoever. Bureaucracies that are loading down local government that mean that they are starting to have to make choices between essential services and, for instance, having to send out bureaucrats to individually one by one register trees, Mr. Smith. That's the kind of things that government has decided is more of a priority than the kind of costs that we would like to see maintained within council, and that is the preservation of essential services. To have Nick Smith stand up and say this bill is constitutionally flawed, this bill is quite simple, Mr. Speaker. It's about maintaining what the public would assume to be is a natural right of local constituents anyway. Most people would be astounded to think that we would need to preserve in legislation free access to books, free access to things like internet services. And the ex-minister also said that digital rollout, that ultra-fast broadband was going to solve all of the issues that we've highlighted around access to the internet. That is absolutely untrue. He obviously hasn't heard of something called the digital divide, and it is very real, Mr. Speaker, so much so that it's actually measured as one of the forced laps. UNICEF uses it as a way of demonstrating whether or not children are all getting the same start in life by whether they're able to access a computer and the internet. And we know that that is an issue in New Zealand. We know it. And material deprivation, the forced laps, have increased under this government, and now they think it's fine to allow a situation where this will get even worse and won't even put in a few measures to protect the odd free service via, for instance, preserving what should be sacred. Mr. Speaker, in this party we recognise the important value of libraries. We always have. Norman Kirk, a great ex-Labor Prime Minister, left school at 13. He educated himself via a local library. That side of the House may try and call those services antiquated. They are very much the hub still of our communities. And I know where I live, where I reside, Mr. Speaker, we have seen those services under threat in even recent times. Greyland Library, which was voted by users across Auckland Central to be the best library that we have, was recently threatened with closure as the council came under increasing pressure to cut services. And the natural place that they go, those quiet achievers. They look to our quiet achievers and they threaten them. And yet those are the places that our parents go, and for playgroups and to take their children for story reading. It's where our job seekers go when they want to access a service that's a little more safe and secure than a work and income kiosk. It's where our students and our elderly go, Mr. Speaker. And if they're safe, why is it then that there was debate, Simon Bridges and Tauranga, about charging for general hireage, for just renting? You would have to rent a book for $2 a go. And it's not even were talking the best renters, like 50 Shades of Grey, Simon. I know you'd be an avid reader. We would talk about the general checking out of books, $2 a go. Now, if that side of the House thinks that's acceptable, then fine, vote against this bill. But on this side, we want to preserve our libraries, and that's why we're in full support.
I call the honourable member Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You can only imagine yourself or oneself in the Labor Party strategy room, and they're thinking, OK, well, yes, but in this instance, we're going to go there and we're going to think, OK,